Well, it turned out that they were building this submarine out of titanium, the largest submarine in the world, on land. And when it came time to launch the submarine, they had to go in and carve a channel out of the land so the submarine could reach the water. And indeed, there it is. Joe was given a Legion of Merit Award. This is about the time the Cold War was running down. There was a lot of skepticism in the press, and people saying, well, they didn't really do all that much, and so on. So I'm glad to see that Joe was willing to let this come out into the open. And they provided 200 missions, Joint Chiefs of Staff, DIA, NSA, CIA, Secret Service, producing crucial and vital intelligence unavailable from any other source. So the program was successful. You might think now that since the program closed down, interest is lost. It was always tough to keep it going. Heads of agencies come and go, and then they say, well, what is this program I've got? Well, do we really need that? And as the Cold War wound down, it was hard to keep it going. So the program stopped as a large program. But still, there continued to be interest in it. I was asked to write up a history of the program, which there are copies for you out there. In this case, a commander for the Navy SEALs said, you know, Navy SEALs should be trained in this. And so we arranged for him to interview me and my colleagues and our sponsors, and he wrote a thesis for the Marine War College about how Navy SEALs should be trained in this. So the interest continues. Okay, that's all heavy, military, intelligence, and all that. Well, let's end this discussion with some fun things for us. Where does it apply in our lives? Well, the best place to start on that is something called the Skytop Lodge experiment. Some parapsychology researchers got the idea that since apparently normal people can do this, maybe we're all using ESP all the time and just don't know it. So they actually arranged to go to a meeting of 67 corporation presidents, and they asked them to guess a 100-digit random number before it's chosen. And the chance expectation was that you could get 10% of the individual digits right. What they found was that although the group as a group scored a chance, all but one of those presidents whose companies doubled profits in the previous 5 years scored above chance. All but one of those presidents who did not double profits scored below chance. And this sort of seemed to support the hypothesis that this was running underground with these corporation presidents. They then interviewed the corporation presidents. What do you think about ESP? What do you think about psychic phenomena? I don't believe in that stuff. But I have learned to go by my intuition, my gut feel, and that's why I'm successful. Well, they even ended up, that's in a book, in case you want to read about it, called Executive ESP. Okay, I'll end on a couple more view graphs, and then we're done. As you can imagine, we had skepticism all the time. And of course, most of the stuff while we were doing it couldn't be talked about. So we're sort of in the position of having a bunch of physicists saying you can't make atomic bombs, and meanwhile you're blowing them up in the desert. And the skeptics would always say, if these people are so psychic, why aren't they rich? Why don't they go to Las Vegas? Why aren't they in the stock market? Well, we finally got an answer to that. Actually, many of them were, but keeping it very quiet. My wife and I at this time happened to be behind setting up of a private primary school, and we had the teachers hired. They had 100 kids enrolled. It was August. One of our funders of $25,000 contribution dropped out at the last minute, so we didn't know what we were going to do. What I'm going to tell you now is something that every one of you can actually go home and use. You should try it. I went to a wealthy dentist, and I said, well, you know, we have this, we lost a funder and so on. He said, now wait a minute. I know you. You have that ESP program at SRI, don't you? And I said, yes. He says, well, tell you what. I'm not going to give you money, but I do silver futures. If your people can tell me what's happening in the silver futures market, I will give you 10% of what I make. And don't worry, if you fail, I'm not going to charge you for my losses. So, okay. Well, obviously I couldn't turn to my Army Intelligence remote viewers and ask them to participate in this experiment. So I went to the board of directors of the school, and I said, guess what? You're going to get a weekend course, and you're all going to become psychic. Oh, they laughed. You can't believe it. But anyway, they knew we were desperate for money. So you might think, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to say, well, what do you think? Is it silver futures going to go up tomorrow? Is it going to go down? No, that doesn't work. That depends on what you think. It depends on what you read in the newspaper. It depends what you hope happens. So the technique we use, which you can all use for any purpose, we call association remote viewing. On a given day, what I will do, instead of asking that question, is I will get two objects. Let's say an apple and a pencil. And I'll decide that if the market goes up tomorrow, I'll show them the apple the next day. If it goes down, I'll show them the pencil. But I don't tell them what the objects are. I just say, depending on what the market does tomorrow, I'm going to show you something. What is it? Oh, it's sort of round and red. I think it's a plastic ball. Well, that sounds more like the apple than the pencil. So I would take that to mean the market must be going up. So that's what I tell the broker to do. Hopefully the market does go up, and then I show them the apple. I'll give you an example. Each day, of course, I have to pick two new objects because they get feedback every day. You have to pick objects that are as different as they could possibly be. So here's a figurine made out of wood. Here's a tape measure. Nice and aesthetic, hard mechanical. One remote viewer says, I see something all wound up, and I hear the words 1, 2, 3 said rhythmically. The other person says, it's like a little tin can, but it's got a bunch of stuff inside going back and forth. Well, you can believe I didn't choose the figurine. I chose the tape measure. It was right. The nice thing about this, if it doesn't match either of the objects, you know the person is off, you don't have to do anything. And they don't have to be very good to at least differentiate. My favorite scientific graph, money in the bank. 30 days in the market, we made $26,000. It was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You'd expect 50-50 by chance. We ran 70-30. And the dentist made $250,000. That's right. You have no idea how I had to fight him off when he said, let's keep going, let's keep going. So basically, where are we today? Well, we have our science. We sort of know about the stars. You know, we have our biology. We kind of know about trees. We have our soil experts and so on. But it's clear from experiments like this that there's a lot we don't know. So there's always a cadre of scientists on the front edge. They say if you're 1 step ahead of the curve, you're a genius. If you're 2 steps ahead, you're a crackpot. So we try to stay not too far out. And those who are interested in topics like this will continue to explore behind the scenes. And hopefully someday we'll understand a lot more, but it's also clear we have a long way to go. Thanks.
Now it's getting late, and I don't want to keep you too late, but I'd like to do one special little thing, and I'd like to ask Joe McMonagle to come up. And I'd ask him if he'd tell us a quick story. And Joe, maybe you'll indulge me and tell the Chinese story. I just love the Chinese story. And so this is remote viewer number 1, the number 1 remote viewer in the program, Joe McMonagle.
There you go.